New plans to reform China's IPO issuance mechanism. Plans that include pushing forward the gradual replacement of the current system to issue new shares. New listing firms currently experience delays and have to navigate a complicated application process. The notorious approval-based system can take multiple rounds of reviews and several years before investors receive approval from securities regulator.
We will expand the scale of information disclosure and make our review standard and process more transparent. We will open the IPO process to the public so that they can have a closer supervision to the issuance process.
Mr. Deng predicts that around 50 companies will be able to complete their registration procedures for IPOs by the end of January. And under the new registration-based IPO system, China Securities Regulator will only be responsible to decide whether companies fulfill the rules. The values and risks would be for investors and the market to judge. The IPO registration system was actually released in the communique of the conclusion of the third plenum of the 18th Central Committee of the Communist Party of China. And that kind of system will require China Securities Watchdog to boost its supervision over listed companies while loosening its approval process before IPOs. Zhao Xuejun is the CEO of Harvest Fund. He says he is impressed by the scale of the reform unveiled this time.
I believe the reform plan unveiled today highlights three aspects. First, it strengthens the information disclosure responsibility of all players in the market. It also tightens the punishment methods for those who break the rules. And most importantly, it will rationalize China's IPO pricing mechanism by expanding current pricing scales.
Investors also believe the market will play a bigger role in China's IPO process in the future.
China's regulators will only check the legality of IPO candidates in the future, while the market will decide their profitability, pricing, and other matters. Meanwhile, their financing channels will be expanded to meet the needs of the market, and the pricing and IPO issuance methods will be decided by issuers themselves. The IPO issuance process will speed up massively.
In the meantime, China Securities Watchdog is also tightening up its supervision of the stock market. It says it will further boost its means of supervision in the future. The CSRC has dealt with 46 cases concerning incomplete or deceitful information disclosed from January to October this year. Yahang CCTV, Beijing.
Conference held by China's securities regulator. Let's bring in our market reporter Yinghang in the studio. Hello there, Yinghang. You told me earlier that 5 documents were issued this time, which is very rare from the regulator. Just talk us through what the major highlights of these plans are.
Certainly, Dongning, you're right about that. A number of supporting policies are to be rolled out after the issuance of guidelines. And let's take a closer look at what we've got so far. First of all, the CSRC says preferred stock issuers are not limited to public companies. So what's that mean? Preferred shares can also be issued by non-public companies and overseas public companies registered in the Chinese mainland. Meanwhile, the securities regulator will restrain issuers from setting high prices to curtail speculation, and rules will be revised on securities issuance and underwriting. Meanwhile, individual investors will be allowed to participate in offline practice of price setting and placement. Now, bear in mind that the reform is aimed at protecting rights and interests of small and medium-sized investors. Meanwhile, the CSRC also said the backdoor listing rules will be the same with IPO rules. Increasing threshold backdoor listing will help rein in speculation. And one thing to remember that the CSRC is that the reform of the new share issuance system is not about loosening supervision, but indicates that the strengthening of law enforcement. And once unlawful practices are found, approval procedures will be suspended and violators will be severely punished. So lots of things to be digested. Dongning, back to you.
Indeed, thank you very much indeed.